Hey everybody, you got Cam Mayville here and the great Paul Lucas. Paul, how you doing, buddy? Great to see you.
Doing good. Good to be here.
Yes, we are Rug Wash Pros and ChemMax, and this is the home of rug rescue. So we've got an interesting topic, and today is not about a call that came in, but more of a post that was put into the rug room. And if you're not part of that, the rug room on Facebook is a great place to be to get a lot of great content, education, where the next classes and chems and equipment are, what's going on, and all that good stuff. So make sure that you check that out. But the post was put in there, and then the subject of Dichlor came up. And we know that there's different opinions, but Paul and I have always been the type that we believe in trying to be as careful as possible when you're cleaning these awesome fibers that are out there and these rugs that we get to see. And we just believe in using every bit of caution that you possibly can. And there's a lot of times we believe that people go to products that do damage, and people go to these products because they're really not aware of other things that may be out there. Maybe they just didn't know, nobody told them about it. And so they use something that's more nuclear, something that's more damaging because they're trying to get a result, like maybe get rid of an odor. And we know that this doesn't have to be done because we've been in the industry long enough. We deal with a lot of professionals every day, day in, day out. And Paul has made thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of different products that have been extremely successful in this industry. So we wanted to take I really wanted Paul to take a moment today to jump on this podcast and talk about Dichlor a little bit so you guys understand exactly what it is. And everything that Paul's going to tell you, you can go research on your own. It's out there. All you've got to do is go crack that book open, go get on Google, start researching. And if you accept the facts, then you'll get where we're coming from. Paul, go ahead, bud.
Yes, we had a post, and we have a relatively newer cleaner, at least to the Oriental rug side of things, natural fibers. And she was asking for advice on rugs that were contaminated. I think it was mold, mildew, musty smell. And one of our members, said, go get Dichlor and use that. And a lot of old school guys do use either chlorine bleach or Dichlor. And, so it's common in the industry, especially with the old school guys. But then she's responding, well, I can't find it. Where do I buy it? And I'm going, well, it's Pool Shock. Dichlor is Pool Shock. And it's for killing all the mold, mildew, bacteria, fungus, viruses in your pool. And even that, it shocks, the 10,000 gallons of water in your pool. And so I'm thinking, well, that's Pool Shock. And then, wait a minute, she's going to put it on a wool rug. That's Wool Shock.
That's not a good idea. Was funny, Paul. That was I laughed really hard when I saw that comment.
Because I'm thinking, well, I can tell her where to get it because it's available everywhere and it's cheap. And I think that's one of the attractions to it. It's cheap and it's easy to get. But it's destructive. It's a very strong oxidizer. Now, in the past I've talked about, I go, well, it's like bleach in a rug. And people say, well, it's not really bleach. Well, when you add it to water, it basically is it's bleach's close cousin. And what the real issue is the free, chlorine that's in it, the free oxygen, the oxygen that is not tied up and is usable. And bleach has a very high rate, and so does Dichlor. It just has a lot of the free oxygen, free chlorine. And so therefore, it's a very fast, effective deodorizer, color remover. But on natural fibers, especially cotton, oxidation is very destructive because it's a polymer of sugar, the cellulosic fibers are, and oxidation breaks those polymer bonds. And so you're weakening the structure of the polymer. So, you don't want to do that. Now, the reason we get away with it a little bit is because in a cotton fiber, there's millions of bonds. And the oxidation is breaking these bonds as you're using hydrogen peroxide or ozone or bleach or dichlor. And if you do it and then get away from it, then quickly and neutralize it, then you can get away with it. But if you put it in there and don't neutralize it, and nobody talked about that, and Cam, as a rug cleaner, and I know as somebody that's been around the United States and beyond, going and visiting rug cleaning plants and visiting professional cleaners, that you get a lot of rugs in and you just look at it, from the distance. You haven't even unrolled it yet. And you can look at it and say, oh, they bleach damaged this because the fringes are destroyed. And then when you go inspect the rug and test it, we always tell people in our training classes, grab onto that end of that fringe and tug on it. Now, if it's silk, it's going to have a little rubber band effect. It's going to stretch and snap back. And so one of the reasons you test it with that little tug, is it a silk fringe? Now, you do that on a cotton fringe, and if it's been bleached, a lot of times those fibers just come right out with almost no effort. So you look at your fingers, and you got a bunch of cotton in between your fingers, just from a slight tug. And cotton's strong. I mean, you ever try to break a couple strings of cotton, like on a thread, sometimes you're going like, man, I got to put gloves on. This is hard to break this little thread. So when you're pulling on a fringe and the fibers are coming out, that's almost a certainty that they clean those fringes with bleach or some other form of oxidation like dichlor, and it ruins it. And then also, if you're using it on the wool, it damages the wool, because wool is a polymer of amino acids, and it's bonded together. You start using a lot of oxidation, you start breaking those bonds, and so the wool gets weaker. And especially natural dyes are affected by oxidation. So it's, some of them aren't, some of them are oxygen resistant, but some of the pigments are, and so you don't see that as much, but then other ones are easily faded by strong oxidation. So, we're damaging that fiber, and we're damaging the dyes in that. And it's just uncalled for. And if you are going to use it, because Cam and I have taught in class, like sometimes you get a fringe and it gets color on it, gets dye bleed onto the fringe, and it's really hard to get off. And sometimes the only thing that'll work is chlorine bleach. But when we teach it in class, we say, this isn't what you want to do on every rug. This is this is a last resort. And then we show them how to use the weakest dilution that'll still get their job done. So you got to test for that. And we do that in every class. We're always testing to find out how strong to make redox reactions. That's part of the learning process. And then as soon as it does its job for you, you got to neutralize it. And a lot of people don't. And so then that oxidation continues to move forward and destroy those textiles and the dyes until it completely dries out. And then if it gets to be a humid day or it gets wet again, they reactivate. So you have to neutralize that if you're going to do it properly. But we teach it how to do it properly, and seldom, only when you have to. If you got a pigment on the cotton or on the wool, sometimes that's what you got to do. So the point I really wanted to make was there are other ways to oxidize a rug and get the deodorization that you want and the decontamination you want without using something that causes secondary damage. And that is chlorine dioxide. Yeah, it has chlorine in it, chlorine dioxide. But chlorine dioxide is a gas. That's what it is. It's a gas. But you can take that gas and dissolve the gas into water. Now, when you put bleach or dichlor or other strong oxidizers in water, it chlorinates the water. Now, the water itself becomes a bleaching agent because it's chlorinated. But when you take chlorine dioxide gas and dissolve it into water, it does not chlorinate the water. It remains a gas dissolved into the water, but independent chemically from the water. Then you go like that, well, I've never heard of that, or that sounds weird. But we deal with it every day because a lot of us drink carbonated beverages. And so we like soda pop, we like, drinks that are carbonated. And that what that is that you have added air, the bubbles in that, to the pop or to the liquid. And then when you drink it, you get that nice mouthfeel. And that's a gas dissolved into the beverage. Okay. And also our bloodstream. Nitrogen is dissolved into our bloodstream so that we can get that nitrogen out of our body when we exhale. And so that gas goes into the blood and is dissolved, and then the lungs carry it back out. And you know all this if you're a scuba diver, because if you go diving and you come up too fast, then that nitrogen becomes bubbles in your blood, and you get the bends, and you can die from that. And so one of the big things of training you as a diver is to watch your ascent speed and never pass your bubbles. And then you have to do safety stops so you don't get that nitrogen to form bubbles in your bloodstream and in your brain and in your organs. So, we all living mammals, have this going on in their body. So with chlorine dioxide being put into the water, we get the full effect of the oxidation, but we don't chlorinate the water. So it's only those molecules. So they come out of solution, turn back into a gas, and as they're exiting that textile, they're oxidizing, and then they go into the atmosphere and float away. And so you're not leaving a residual oxidizer because it evaporates. And it has a lot of free oxygen in it. The oxygen state of chlorine dioxide is 3, whereas with chlorine bleach, it's only 1. So, you do have the power there. You just have the safety where you don't have to worry about neutralizing. You're not chlorinating the water, so you're not dissolving the dyes and the polymers of the natural fiber. So you're doing what you wanted to do with bleach and with dichlor without the secondary damage. It just makes all the sense in the world. Now, I know this on a firsthand basis because one of my good friends owns a carpet cleaning and rug washing facility. He has a full size facility. They're doing 50 rugs a day. In the busy time of the year, they do 100 rugs a day. They're really rocking and rolling, have been for years. Okay, so I go down to visit them. They got this big cylindrical vertical tank, and with like 4 or 5 inch big black letters, it says bleach. I'm going like, what's that for? Well, when we get urine soaked rugs or rugs that are really contaminated, category 3 sewer damage, we hit them with bleach. And I'm going, that's not really a good idea. Well, Paul, I don't know if you know anything or not, but that's what everybody does. Okay, so we go visit other rug cleaners and rug cleaning facilities, rug shops, and they all use bleach. They have 55-gallon drums of it, And I'm going, yeah, I know. I've been to all those places too. And they have drums of 15% bleach. So I know what you're talking about, but just because everybody else does it does not mean it's right. And just because you do it doesn't mean it's right. You're damaging rugs when you're pouring, because that tank was like 210 gallons, 250 gallons. I don't remember exactly. Hit several of them. But I said, you're putting that on and just washing it. You're not neutralizing the bleach. You're just bleaching it and running it through. And what doesn't rinse off is still in that textile because you're putting it in before you're rinsing. You're not neutralizing. You're going to damage something. And I said, you need to switch to our product, which is odor out, or for rugs, we call ancient secret formula, because the odor out instructions were how to do wall-to-wall carpet. And for rugs, it's like, we got to have different instructions. So we can't, same price, same product, just two different labels so that, because we hate to say to people, well, buy this, but don't follow the label directions. That's just people like doing it. So it's like, so Ancient Secret formula is chlorine dioxide based. And so with Mike, he's buying drums of it from us and has been for years. But at the time, he just said, well, the bleach works. It works great. I said, you're going to ruin people's rugs. And I said, you're ruining them right now. It's just that nobody catches it. But, when that rug comes back, you tug on the fringes and they're all going to fall into your, fall apart because you're doing rugs over and over again. Well, anyways, finally, time goes by and they end up ruining a rug, and it was very expensive. And they ended up having to replace it. And so he was kind of upset, how do we avoid this? What do we? I said, well, you're using bleach. You need to get rid of that bleach and switch over to odor out, because then you get the same effect or better, actually better deodorizing, better decontamination, and no secondary damage. That's what you need to do. And he goes, yeah, but it's expensive. And I'm going, well, yeah, the good stuff is expensive. The cheap stuff ain't good. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Well, the price upset him because, he's buying the drums of bleach for a couple $100 a drum. And then, it's a couple $100 more. It's twice the money for the product, maybe more than that. And so he just wouldn't do it. So then time goes on, they ruin another rug. He calls me up, this happened, that happened. How do we fix it? What happened? I said, Mike, that's because you use bleach. You're bleaching them, and you're taking the dot. He had one, had polka dots, but it was geometric, was all, and they all faded severely. And I'm going, well, you're going to have to dye them. He goes, Paul, there's like one every inch. It's like thousands of them.
Well, you better get started.
I'm going, well, you ruined it. You took the dye out, you got to put dye back in, get on your belly and spend a couple days, on the floor doing polka dots. And so the point I'm making is now he's going, okay, yeah, the bleach is cheaper, but if I start considering the cost of rug replacements, that I'm doing, where's the savings? Yeah. And plus the value of his cleaning to all his customers that send a rug in that smells. He's shortening their lives, the lives of that rug, I should say. He's damaging that textile, whether he wants to admit it or not. So finally, he switched over to our Ancient Secret formula. He buys it in drums, and it's been for probably 10, 15 years. These are old stories, but they haven't switched back because it works and they don't have secondary damage. So life is easier. You can always raise your price, cover your chemical costs. But frankly, when you get right down to it, your chemical cost is still $1, or $2 or $3 or $4 to do a big rug. So, why are we damaging things over a couple bucks when we could do a better job for just a little bit of chump change? To me, it's no question, do it right, do the right thing. And the oxidation with Dichlor and with chlorine bleach, that's popular because it's old school. And you go back 100 years, they didn't have chlorine dioxide to use. It wasn't well known yet. And bleach was what was available. But, there was a lot of things that weren't available 100 years ago that we can't live without, computers, cell phones, commercial aircraft. The medicine that we have, and so industry and professionals need to keep up with changing times. So, if we rode our horse or our jackass to work to clean rugs, we want to kind of move up from that. And and ride to work in our automobile and use modern chemistry to achieve what is necessary and to protect the interests of our customers. Because, our customers, if we're doing this right, our customers are coming to us in our community because we are the textile expert. We're the wool expert. We're the Oriental rug expert. We're the natural fiber expert. And what that means is you are up to date with, best practice. And you're not doing things that grandfather learned from his grandfather to process their rugs. You've moved forward, and that's why people will come to you. And that's why people will pay you a higher price than cleaning with a carpet cleaning service, because they assume that you know more and that you are using the right chemistry, the right methods, the right tools, the right procedures, and you know how to do it. That's the assumption. Now all you got to do is do it. So, that's why I got a little, because I'm saying, okay, we got a newbie on our Facebook page, the Rug Room, and we're giving them bad advice. And I'm just imagining this person going down the pool supply, buying Dichlor, ruining a rug, and now buying a rug just because us old timers didn't say to her, look, don't do it that way. There's a better way to do it.
Well, and it's so true, Paul. And, one of the questions I asked when we did the Rug Room Live to you, and the reason I asked this question, of course, it was a leading question to you, but every class we've done, we always talk to everyone about taking the carpet mentality and throwing it away, and we try to explain to them, when using oxidation and reduction, speed isn't your friend. You need to test, you need to slow things down. And I heard one time, someone try to justify the Dichlor, and then as they were justifying it, they were talking, well, it saves me time because it works so fast. And I'm sitting there going, they just don't get it. It's that speed, that fastness, that is going to do damage, whether you like it or not. And you try to get people to persuade, you persuade people your way to believe it. You can't change the facts, can you?
Well, really, a chlorine dioxide based formula really is just as fast as these other products, or close enough that it doesn't matter, because you're going to have to get a stopwatch out to measure the difference, and so and part of that is because most people use the bleach too strong, and so they're going to get a little bit more speed because they're nailing it, they're nuking it. Whereas, if you're following our label directions, you're still way above what is necessary to clean, kill, and deodorize. But that's the other factor. Speed is your enemy in most cases. And we're only talking a minute or two difference, if there is one. And that's only because we're probably using a milder product as far as concentration. But mole to mole, molecule to molecule, chlorine dioxide is actually more effective than the bleach and the Dichlor. It is. It's so that's really an invalid. Somebody's just defending themselves. It's not really a valid argument.
Yeah, and I tell you, I've been using it for years now. And Ancient Secret Formula is an amazing product. And, and we haven't even gotten, and we're not going to go into it now, but there's also other benefits that Ancient Secret Formula will provide people with, especially when they're stripping rugs. So, but that's for a whole nother subject on another day, Paul.
Well, no, really, what it is, and I already said it, but just to reiterate it, it's a gas. So when it comes out of solution, zero residue, because it's turning into there. So that's a big benefit, because chlorine dioxide is a gas. Well, and so that's one.
And not to interrupt, Paul, but just real quick, I was just telling everybody last night too, we just did one. I mean, literally, I walked into the shop one morning and the rug was dry, but the odor from the rug being in a sewer backup was still horrendous. And I said, guys, hit it with Ancient Secret Formula front and back and go let it sit out in the sun for a while, let it air out. And it took 2 applications. You could not smell anything. completely gone, 100%. I mean, it's just, it's amazing how the product works and it does the job.
Yep. And no residue too, from, because a lot of deodorizers out there, and we make them, so I know about them because we make them. But when you use them, if you don't rinse them all out when you're done, they leave a sticky residue behind. And so, and even like Woolzyme, as great as that is, that's a bacterial enzyme digester. It needs to be rinsed out. You can't really leave it in. You got to clean it and rinse it. But the Ancient Secret formula doesn't require the rinsing because it evaporates. So no soil attracting, no long-term damage, no short-term damage. It's just a better chemistry to go with. And that's, we should be looking, just like I do in my business, we've changed formulas. I had one of my employees say to me one time, he goes, "Why are you changing that? Everybody loves it. They say that's the best cleaner." And he goes, "And now you're changing it." I says, that's how life is. If you don't keep up, then after a while, it becomes old school, it becomes outdated, and everybody crushes you because you're stuck with the old formula. So we continuously are thinking, how can we make this better? And we do. I mean, things come along and it's like, yeah, I can do that better. So, in your business, same thing, is there a better way to do it? Is there a better procedure, better equipment, better chemistry, better programs, better communication, better training? All those things are things that you need to keep moving forward with.
Absolutely. Hey guys, just want to remind you, if you get a chance, please hit that like box and also subscribe to us. And we've got a lot more podcasts coming up. We've been a little bit busy lately, so I think we're a week or two behind, but we're going to put some more together here through the next coming weeks and get them posted for you. And Paul, I appreciate you being here again. Paul Lucas at ChemMax. I'm Cam Mayville of Omaha Rug Cleaning and Rug Wash Pros, and this is the home of Rug Rescue. Guys, thanks again for being with us today. We've got a lot more to come, so take care, and until next time, keep it clean.
Thanks, everybody.